the AggieCast page. Also, remember to take the evaluation. The link is located on the bottom of the AggieCast page titled UATP Survey. This just helps us better prepare for future webinars. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter and training topic. This training will be presented by Jean Bosco-Walsh, a consultant for Saltillo Corporation. Saltillo is dedicated to making personal communication possible to individuals who are unable to use their natural voice. Jean will explore the TouchChat app that is a total communication application available for your iDevice. She will then discuss the latest communication devices from Saltillo that are based on the Android system. These communication devices are completely fundable through Medicaid and private health insurance companies. Jean is a special educator with a master's in education. She taught students with significant disabilities in Georgia and Colorado for over 15 years. She's presented at Closing the Gap for 14 years and has also been an ATIA presenter. She's also presented at Regional Assistive Technology Conferences in Arizona and Colorado. For the past 7 years, Jean has worked exclusively in the Augmentative Communication Field. Currently, she is a consultant for Saltillo Corporation, covering Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. And now we will turn the presentation to Jean.
Hi. I'm sorry, just getting a weird message from my computer. So I'm going to talk to you today about using the latest technology, and I'm going to start out with the TouchChat app. And are you showing my? Good. Okay. So this is also my contact information is right here, which is jean@saltilloconsultant.com. You'll see that a couple more times. So this is an interview from Dave Hirschberger, who founded the company, and it's all about Saltillo. So I just thought I would just give you a little bit of background about what Saltillo is. And in 1996 is actually when Dave Hirschberger incorporated the company Saltillo, and it has gone through so many changes, as the whole field has in the last 17 years. So, oh no, okay. I don't have my screen. I'm sorry. So, Dave Hirschberger started off in Ohio working for PRC, the Premke company, which many of you might be familiar with. And once he figured out that the changes really happened in the field and how they could, okay, this is weird. My computer just went. I'm sorry, technical difficulties. My computer just shut off. Is that Outlook good? Yeah.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. Don't leave, we're working on it.
Yeah. I can show you a little bit about the TouchChat app, and this is it right here. I think I'll go back out, and the TouchChat app is available from iTunes, and that was the icon right there. And what makes this app really rather unique is all of the different vocabularies that are available with it. And I'm going to show you some of the most powerful ones right now. If you go into vocabulary and choose a new vocabulary, You'll see all the ones that I have that have green open locks on them. And then if we go back and to choose a new vocabulary, technology doesn't like me today. The ones that come with your app that you purchase are the ones that have the yellow. That have the yellow lock on them. And MultiChat 15 is one that's really for a school-aged student. As you can see, these are symbol sticks on the communication device, and that's the symbols that come with it. And what really works nice about this is really a phrase-based system. So if you start with I want. Is there like something really strange? So if you start with I want, any ideas, folks? Have you done a I'm so sorry. I'm going to go to the communication device because it's the same vocabularies in here. I really apologize, folks. It's like everything I'm touching is not. I'm not so sure I can. It's like when the light is on here, when I touch it, it's not reading my hand. And if I go here and touch it, it's fine. And it's the same with the iPad. Like here I can do it. And as soon as I put it here with the light, it doesn't do it. See, it's responding like that one's doing it. Now it's working. Okay, thank you. And we're back on here. I really, really, really apologize. Okay, can we go back to my computer, which they now have set up? I don't have a blue light though.
You have a short right here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is.
And I
there's
used
a
my
short-
2 hours.
There's a short right
That's what
there.
I just,
See
yeah,
that?
right. Okay. Okay, let's explore TouchChat, because I think we have that part of it totally working. Yay! My iPad is following my hand. Okay, so we're going to go through the vocabulary files, because actually that is what makes TouchChat most unique, and that it has so many different options for people with different needs as far as communicating. So with the MultiChat 15, this is a file that was really developed for somebody who is maybe a school-age student, and it is phrase-based. So when you're looking at communication for somebody who needs to use a device, who is learning how to communicate, and we need to augment their communication, we have different ways of setting it up, and we can either do sentence-based, we can do phrase-based, or we can do word-based. So when you think about that and you think of sentence-based, so when somebody touches a button, a whole sentence is going to come out. And you might think that, yeah, that's really great, because I want my individual to be able to say, you know, like, I want that cookie, please. But then when you think about how many buttons you would have to say every single thing the student would need, it really would be almost impossible. So what we're looking at here is a middle one, which is phrase-based. So to get the thing, I want a cookie, out, you wouldn't have to make, you know, you wouldn't have to say every single I want a cookie, but you can chunk them together with phrase-based. And this predicts what's going to happen next. So I want, and you saw it then went to the next page. So I want, so if they're looking for a cookie, they're going to need the category to eat. And so then we're going to go to the category of snacks. And you know, with beginning communicators, you can have them put in the word or you can just, I want to eat cookie is fine for someone who's just learning how to communicate. And so now we have the whole sentence, and if you touch that, there's different ways you can program it. What I have it on right now is that when you touch it, it's going to go to the make the whole sentence take up the whole screen. That works really nice in a classroom, so they don't have to be yelling or saying it 3 times. They can hold it up. So this is MultiChat 15, which is really a school-based vocabulary file. If we look at the school page, we can go to the classes, and some of these are already programmed, and some of them you would customize it easily. So we would go to social studies. There's a couple of things in here. They have the states. If somebody is studying that, more states, and more states. And then we could go back to the main page is what I did. And under the things is all of your nouns. Nouns are really nice. Kids all want to say them, they want to learn them, they want to learn the words. But you know, really most of our vocabulary is not noun-based. Most of what we're saying is on the scale of just using your verbs and your adjectives. So that's that. One thing that's really nice with this is that you can customize it really easily, and I'll show you that in a minute. And you can really just put pictures right in it. Go to people, and you can use the camera, pull up a picture, put it in, and then we can go back. There's also a keyboard that has word prediction with it. So I'm going to erase it just by hitting the X here. And do you notice that the words are also coming up for the next most predictable word that would come there? Do that, and there you go. So let's look at another vocabulary. So that was MultiChat 15. The web page that you would want to find out all this information too about the TouchChat app is the touchchatapp.com. So let's look at another one. Vocab PC is a vocabulary file that was written by Gail Van Tatenhove, who's done a lot of work with people with disabilities, and she was one of the first therapists to actually work with people in the older population, which what I mean is just not in school, so maybe in the 20s. And so what she was able to do was to actually make a communication system that someone who had never had communication and never had the ability to speak, they were able to say things and get on with their life. And it really was for maybe people in group homes. So if you go there, I want, and maybe just more. So then here's your thing to go back. As far as categories go, she has places in here. So there's restaurant, church, dentist, and then you can add pages to go to it. Should be more from there. So there's not a lot of, actually it's phrase-based mainly with some sentence-based. So there's not a lot of word building. Somebody wouldn't need to have really much literacy to be able to use this. So then let's see if we go to the cooking. Then there's a whole page where if someone's working on making their lunch, they could actually, use this communication while they're doing it. So that was called Vocab PC. What the TouchChat app has going on for it. I'm sorry. Are we able to? Okay. What the TouchChat app has for it is really WordPower. And you can see in here there's a lot of files, vocabulary files called WordPower. And these are extremely, extremely powerful. They're communication systems communication files that are word-based, but they predict. And I'm just going to show you one with the 42, the WordPower 42 Basic. And this is very powerful, and it really is for someone who is just learning language, so they might not have a lot of literacy skills, but they can have a lot to say here. So if you go with, I'm gonna erase this and go to I want a, and then I'm going to go to my groups. So, and then I'm going to go to food, and I'm going to say that I want a pizza with something on it. So if I go to pizza, you'll notice that the next word that jumped there was with, right where the pizza was. So I don't have to move my finger at all. And I want a pizza with pepperoni and sausage. So there you have a full sentence, and somebody can say this without having to make a lot of movement, without having to look around a lot, because it really encourages vocabulary that's going to help. So like if I go to the word hurt, what happens next is all of my body parts come up. So then my stomach. And so what happened when I just hit I'm hurting, it said something hurts. When I hit stomach, it said it's my stomach. So that's 42 basic, which is for someone who's just learning literacy. They don't have to have much. Almost everything has a picture on it. Now if I go to just the plain WordPower 42 and look at this, you'll notice, the first thing you'll notice is there's not a picture on every frame. And if somebody is learning how to read and they're understanding words just a little bit, you can really teach them, because what happens is that motor planning, after hitting the word I a whole bunch of times, even without a picture there of a person, it's going to come up. So I, okay, want a, and then my groups thing is there. So I'm going to go back to that pizza again. So it's pretty much the same, but what it does, it gives somebody just more language. So the 42 basic is really that. It's basic, it's for somebody just learning their language. And then when you get to the regular 42, it is coming back. And then I'm going to show you the most powerful one for somebody who has literacy skills and has a lot to say. So here we go, and what you'll see on this, I'm going to clear this out. What you'll see is in the bottom 4 rows are all of the core vocabulary that we've been looking at. But what happens on top is where the keyboard is. So you have word prediction as you're spelling, and you also have word prediction as you're coming up with the next word. Watch these 4 squares right there. So when I hit I, you'll see that all these green verbs came up, all of your action words. Okay, so then again, and you'll see also the endings come up. So now when I go to, I want to say a word that's going to start with G, and this is not making a good sentence, but I was just trying to show you how these different words are coming up with it. So you can use the spelling with it, and you can use the words with it. So somebody could be really fast. We have several people who just want to spell and use the vocabulary, just by spelling it. But then they'll realize that they can actually say their thoughts faster if they use both the core vocabulary down at the bottom and the words up at the top. So then, if you are thinking of a verb, I'm sorry, an adjective, so you go to the description ones, you'll notice that the keyboard has turned pink. So if you want an adjective that's going to start with B, what happens then is all of your B vocabulary words come up, all of the adjectives. So if you wanted to say beautiful, that came up, and it's really a fast way to get to your words. The same thing happens with your action words, your verbs. You go there and you go to your green ones, if you have a verb that starts with a T, I press the green T, and now all of my verbs come up that start with T. Okay. So those are your word powers. And I'm just going to go back. So that is really the TouchChat app. WordPower is an add-on onto it. So if you think that you have somebody who would benefit from using a TouchChat app, then you would just need to, you can purchase it with iTunes. And if that person has the ability to learn language and to really put their own thoughts together, then I would strongly suggest working with the WordPower add-on. You can find a good speech-language pathologist that would love to teach language, and that's what's so wonderful about WordPower. You can see it's all color-coded with the parts of speech, and it's a really nice way to teach someone the whole basics of language. So that is the app. So Saltillo is a company that started with making communication devices in 1996, and most of the communication devices then were big, bulky communication devices, and they were not all that user-friendly, and somebody who had a communication device was very likely to be like really noticed with having the communication device.
Jean, we have a question.
Yeah.
So Courtney asked, she wasn't sure if you've already said this, but does the app speak for the student or user?
Yes, as you're touching the communication part, and I can show them. As you're touching the line up on top, then it's going to talk. And you can have it set to speak words, to speak so, all right, it's flipping around on me. As I hit the word "and," if I had sound on my iPad, it would be saying it. Let's see if it can.
Then. The.
And these are a cappella voices.
Time. Yeah.
And with different vocabularies and with different settings, if I hit the period, it's called a smart period.
And then the time, yeah.
Anything that was said before that period is going to come. So it's going to be a sentence with that smart period when you hit it. And you can set it to say every word, you can set it to say every letter, or only to say the sentences. Okay, good question. If you, I'm back on the app again, but if we go into the menu and into the settings, this is where you can set how it's going to speak and what voice you're going to use. So if you look right here at the Ryan voice, and actually now you can download a bunch of really nice voices. There's some really wonderful children's voices. I think you might have to pay a little extra for them, but they're really nice. So Kenny is the little boy. And so now we are on Kenny. You can change the rate of it. You also can actually, in the newer version, change the pitch of it. So.
And then the time, yeah.
So now you have a little kid's voice, and that's all the different ones. Really? Hey, we're back. Okay, I'm going to try to sort of jump, without jumping around here, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. They have me all fixed up, my poor computer. So TouchChat, I think I've done pretty much on that. This is again about the Saltillo products, these are the different voices on there. The symbol sticks, to kind of see what I hopefully didn't miss too much without my PowerPoint here. This is the vocabulary. When you just buy TouchChat, this is what you get, are these vocabularies, and we went through most of them. And then, and really the ones that I talked about, I think are the most useful ones, the multi-chat for school-aged and vocabulary PC for the older population. There's also just a spelling. And we didn't really talk about this, but I think I showed you some of the word prediction features that are used. And also there's abbreviation expansion for somebody who's going to use the spelling. So like if I wanted to say, hi, my name is Jean, over and over, I could program it so I could just put HJ period, and then every time I typed in HJ period, it could say, hi, my name is Jean. So that's the abbreviation expansion. These are the WordPower apps. I showed you mainly the 42 and the 80, but there's also one with 24 and 24 with phrases. And customizing on there, I think I can show you that real quick since this is going fine. One thing I just noticed on my device that I thought I haven't really mentioned, and that is that when you go to the store and there's different versions, there's like the HD version, and that is for your iPad and the iPad mini. And then the one that does not have HD after it is for the iTouch device. So I'm going to get a file that is not a locked file. So it's one that's green and open. And so if we look at this file right here, and under people, you want to put in somebody's picture. Okay, I'm just going to use this page right here, and I'm going to edit this page. So the word he, I'm going to put a picture of something in there. All I did was when I went to menu and I went to edit this page, and now I push that button that I want to change, and it goes to edit this button. So the label is what's going to be on top of it. The message is what it's going to say. And then we can either import the image or we can select the image. And now the latest version actually has the camera, so you could just go right to your camera. So you can import the image. That's going to go to any of the pictures that you have that are inside your device, all the pictures that you've taken. So if I look right here at my camera roll, I'm going to have a ton of pictures in here. And I'm going to take my cute little niece, put this picture in here. Sorry, I have a he, but I'm going to use this picture. And you can scale it different ways, but you can go use. And then I'm going to say done and save it. And now I have a picture of my niece on there. And I just go done. The red bar goes away, and it's all saved. There's also different ways you can arrange the, when you're touching the device. That's the touch settings. So you can, for somebody who maybe is going to drag for a while, you can change the dwell time, the release time. There's also something cool with the media player, so you can have a button to turn on the music, any music you have downloaded. And then a good thing that we have learned is that you also need a button to stop the music so that you don't have to wait for the whole song to be over. Okay, so then this is a feature that's in the TouchChat app. I'm going to go back over here. And you can actually go to the your social media right from here. I just held down on my speech display bar, and I can go to share. Now, it depends on what I have set up here. If I have an email account in my device, it's going to go there. If I have a Facebook account, it's going to go right there. So let's see if I have an email device, or email, yep, so it's set up to my Google account. So I could just then say, okay, I'm going to write this, and you can see I touched J, and anybody who's in my message that I've sent emails to is going to come up, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to send it. And it's just telling me that my subject is empty, and I'm going to say that's okay. And the next time my device goes online, it will then send that out. I could have done the same thing with Facebook if I had a Facebook account set up. So that's kind of really nice. Also, you could copy it and paste it into like your notes page. So you can actually have some data from what the individual is using if that's what you want to do, or you can just use it for your own social media. So really what you want to know is this a suitable alternative to a dedicated device? And by a dedicated device, I'm meaning the NovaChats, which I'm going to show you next. There's many, many dedicated devices, and there's different ones for different users. So one thing is that it does have a wide range of vocabulary. The price is reasonable. It's $149 for the regular app, and then to get the WordPower add-on, it's another $149. The size, they vary. The technology is good. They're pretty easy to obtain. They're really, really acceptable. It's not as intimidating, you know, for teachers, for parents. A lot of people are familiar with them. Okay, but the downfalls is it's not very durable. The voice sometimes is not very loud. You don't really have much product support. All of the companies who are doing apps, they sell them only through iTunes. That is really how the iTunes, how Apple has it set up. So like as a company, we don't even know where they go. So we can't really support them very well. And also funding. There's a few states actually that are now funding the iPads and the device and the apps with them, but that's pretty limited. And so it's not, for sure it's not Medicare and it's not Medicaid funded. So, and then access right now, even though several companies say they have good switch access, the switch access is very, very limited. It's, you know, we've done so much with access as far as using 2 switches and getting somebody who maybe isn't able to use their finger. There's so much that has happened in the field to let everybody use communication devices, and the iPad just isn't there yet. And this is some research on it that comes from the AAC Institute. And there's a thing on that. So, you know, you can really think about who is the TouchChat available for. This is the web page.
Hey, Jean, we had a question. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
David was wondering how much available memory is needed to run the app.
You know, I'm not the person to answer that. They should probably go on the web page to do that. But I have not seen anything happen, you know, like the device is freezing up, not since like the first issue that came out. So I don't think it's a huge memory guzzler on an app at all. And so on this webpage, the touchchatapp.com, under support, they might actually have what size that they should have. But I know that it's not a huge gobbler of memory. In Utah, in Salt Lake City, that the Utah Center for Assistive Technology is now part of the partner program which means if somebody wants to try out the app, they can go there and set it up and actually get something going. And we went through most of the settings and customizing a little tiny bit. And going to go on to the NovaChat. And I think I was talking about this a little bit in the beginning, where the devices used to be so big and clunky. And Saltillo was one of the first actual device makers to come out with an app. And when we came out with this app, what we realized is a lot of people who really didn't, who really weren't interested in using technology were all of a sudden great with using technology, and they were really and it really was just because of the technology. So these are the NovaChats, and we actually have 3 sizes of the NovaChat. What I'm showing you right here is the 10-inch NovaChat. Maybe I can show you. Anyway, this is the 10-inch. There's a 7-inch NovaChat, and there is a 5-inch NovaChat. They all have the same on the insides. They are Samsung Galaxies is the hardware that's used. So why we actually started using this platform as far as the bigger, clunkier platform was really, I think, because the owner of Saltillo took a gamble, went out and decided to do an app when a lot of the people in the field were saying, oh, our communication devices is what we need to do. We really don't need to be doing an app. And Dave Hirschberger's always been sort of a risk taker. And he went out and he made the app, and he got some really good language on it, because a lot of people were doing communication apps and they weren't quite as language rich as people who had been using vocabulary systems really wanted. So after that, it was like, wow, there really is a big difference with this big clunky device that somebody might have been using to come to a really small, nice device. The reason that devices get purchased are the downfalls of the app, in that you can't get them funded very well, and insurance companies, if you do the right paperwork and you use your Medicaid and you use a good speech pathologist, you can probably get a communication device funded that's going to last you 5 years. An app is probably not, well, I mean, it's possible, but it might not last you 5 years. And they are very durable. That's one thing that they have to have with them. They have to have a speaker with them, and they have to have dual access. So all of those things, you can have switches on here. You have a nice padded case. On the YouTube, there's a YouTube video that you can see that what they were doing when they first came out with the device is they did a test on it to see how durable it was, and they put it in a dryer without any heat on. And 7 hours later, the YouTube video does not go for 7 hours, but you'll see it at different times. There's 7 hours later, it was still talking. So that is one of the main reasons that the actual devices, which we call NovaChats, are very useful and very good. So I'm going to go through just a tiny bit back on my PowerPoint. And okay, this is one of our users, and he just got his NovaChat maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, and he named it Rocky, and he's like amazing. So this is actually, that was a picture. This is the 7 and the 10. And the little one on the side is the 5-inch. They can all be used different ways, either portrait or landscape. They all come with 4 colors on them. So they're based on the Android operating system. These are the weights. The 5-inch one weighs less than a pound. The 7-inch one weighs 1.5 pounds, and the 10-inch weighs a little over 2. And it's really the diagonal screen is what you're measuring for the size. They have Bluetooth speakers, so they have a really nice loud voice. They have the front and rear cameras, and you get all 4 shells with them. It's the Ivona synthesized speech. I'll let you hear that in a minute. And then the a cappella voices are an add-on. The Ivona voices are really nice and clear. I wouldn't suggest that anybody, necessarily needs to buy the $95 a cappella voices. Cymbal sticks are the cymbal set that comes with the device. That's what also is on the app. You can also purchase PCS, which some of you might know is Board Maker cymbals, and it's $375 add-on to get that. With this, there's scanning capabilities. We talked about this with dual access. You can have auditory prompts. You can have 2, and you can just get into that with the settings. Some unique features with the NovaChat. One thing is that it can go into kiosk mode, which just means you can lock out a user from going into the apps automatically. And so that has been a really nice thing. It's a really easy thing to do. You just make a check on it to call it the kiosk mode, and then when a user tries to get into any of the apps on there, they can't do it. But then you can just go and open it up when it is time that it is okay for them to be using the apps.
We have a question, Jean.
Sure.
Cami asked, are you able to take a picture of something specific and make a label for it?
Yes. So when you're doing programming, I can actually show you on here. So when you're doing programming and you're going into edit mode, and it's telling me that this is an original, do you want to make a copy? I'm just going to go yes, and save that. So now I'm in edit mode because I have the nice red line on the bottom. So if I go to, just trying to get someplace that has a blank place on it. So if I'm going to edit this button, you'll notice the difference between the app and this is with this, when you're in edit mode, you can go from page to page and you can edit wherever you want. On the app, you have to edit on one page, close it, and go out. So I'm going to edit this button. I hope this is what she's talking about. And right here, I can go to the camera. So what happens then is the camera turns on, so I can take a picture of you. Okay. So I took my picture, and now I'm going to hit save. So that picture is story, and I saved it. So now I'm going to put my label there and save it. I don't think I'm spelling your name right. But right now, that button that I programmed, when I hit it, it's got a picture of story and it's going to say story. And I'm going to get out of edit mode. My button is, now I need to make sure, because I just realized that my button was not programmed to say it. So, because I'm on my groups page, I'm going to edit the button. You're getting into the advanced stuff, because now the action is what that button is going to do. So what I want that button to do And most of the buttons will already be set up like this, but it's going to speech message. And I'm going to save that. So now when I hit it,
Story.
I don't know if you could hear that or not, and it went up there.
Story.
So when you hit the button, it's going to say it. So you can do that with anything you do on there. So the same thing again that I showed you on the iPad. It does the social chat. You can copy those messages that you have on there. You can save them on other buttons. If someone's doing a report, that works out really nice. You can hide the buttons by the page. Can I go back here? So I'm in edit mode. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to go into hide mode. And this is on my main page, and you can see down at the bottom it says hide mode. So if I wanted to hide these buttons, that's all I do. And then I can just get out of edit mode and those buttons are hidden. And you can do as many as you want at one time. Not something I would suggest though. If you have somebody that's available to work on this, give them the language. And then you can model the language for them. You can also have the pictures of the words. Any of your buttons that have pictures on them, you can have them go up with the words in the speech display bar. That, research-wise, very, very few students actually learn to read by doing that, but it might work, so it's worth a try. You can do gestures like you do on the iPad where you can actually scroll. You can have the speech display bar either be on the top or on the bottom. And if you had somebody who was using just a 42, but they had icons, but they didn't want to have pictures on there, they thought it looked too immature or something, you can just with one thing you can hide all of them at one time. So with the device, which is a lot different than with an app, with the device you get the battery charger, you get a stylus, you get all 4 colors, you get the strap, you get the manual, you get an editor CD, and the editor CD actually lets you do programming on your computer. So this is just the care and maintenance that you need to know about, which is just don't drop it in water mainly. There's a company called Aquapax, and you can look them up online, and they actually are have some really nice bags that work for any type of communication device, and they're like $45. They're nice, and they have straps and totally, they say you can submerge them. So these are the menus, which is just going to get you into the programming. The home button actually gets you back into the apps, and the menu bar is really the programming. We're not going to get into too much of the programming. The 5 menus are a little bit different. So here we go with customizing. This is just our different devices and the different ways you can buy them. You'll see there's the standard version, the plus version, and the dedicated version. So the standard version is the device that has everything I've talked about except for word prediction. So it still has the ability to have the keyboard, but it's not going to give someone the word prediction. So, and the prices are, the first thing you see there is the 5, and then the 7, and then the 10. Then you can go to the plus model, which is everything, all the vocabulary files, plus word prediction. And then the dedicated model is really if your insurance says you have to have a locked device. So it comes from the factory locked, and none of the apps are available except for the camera. And with that, it has the word prediction on it. You can't get into the Android at all. We also give you the shoulder strap actually and the carrying case with it. And you get an additional 2 years warranty when you have a locked device. It's a $50 fee that the individual actually has to pay, or some place has to pay it. The insurance won't pay that extra fee in order to have it unlocked. So there's some states, and I do believe that Utah is one state that does say that they will not pay for computers for somebody. So that is why they want to make sure it's a dedicated device. That seems to be changing in a lot of the states. So the different vocabulary sets, we've gone through. They're the same as what's in the what's on the iPad, except you get everything. It's not like an extra to get the word powers, which we call chat powers. So a little bit earlier I was trying to talk about this, and this is really a nice chart to help with, in that some of the vocabularies are sentence-based. You hit a button and it's going to say the whole sentence. Some of them are phrase-based. Some of them are a combination of sentence-based and phrase-based. That was the multi-chat 15 that I was showing you. And then the chat power ones are really the word-based. And there's also just the spelling ones. So you get all of these with the device, so that somebody might be changing. They might start with a multi-chat, need a phrase-based, and then they might actually, as they're getting older and as they're using language more, they're ready to use a chat power and have a word-based system. Thanks. So Vocab PC is one that I showed you earlier, and that really is the one that's really for older people. The Accelerate with My Voice suite, this one is actually not available on the iPad. It's only available on the communication device, and it has a 4 location, an 8 location, and a 12 location. But the main page of it is what you see on the left, where that's like your first page, and then when you open it up, it goes to either 4, 8, or 12, depending on which one you have. And that one is not really language-based. It's sort of something to note as you are looking at vocabulary files, is if the pictures are pretty much, the colors on the pictures have a lot of order to them, so like all of your verbs are green, your pronouns are yellow, then you're probably able to teach language with that one. Where this one, the colors are sort of coordinated, but they're not really by the parts of speech. So you're not really able to say, okay, now you're looking for an action word, go for the green ones. So For Basic is a vocabulary file that was written by Nancy Inman. And Nancy Inman is the one who did all of the word powers, and she is really strong into language. The For Basic, though, was really made for somebody to use not as a language, but to really use as an assessment type of tool, and really just to see how somebody is coming along, if they really understand. I'm going to show you one that's got all of them. So as you can see, it only has 4 categories. And so for someone who's just learning and you're just working with them, it's,
I want
okay, and
to play
then you can go to the,
with my ball.
and then you can get, 4 different ways to interact once they have their ball. So you can work with them on bouncing it, rolling it, throwing it, and that's where that could go. But so in an assessment, when you're working with somebody who's never used a device before, this would work really well. But when you think about somebody's language and you think
I want to play.
they have 3 choices to play and that's it, and you think, oh, I'll just add another page and do 3 more and then 3 more and then 3 more. But what happens is your cognitive load, what you're asking the kid to remember, where is that Play-Doh, they've now had to make so many hits to get there that
With Play-Doh.
they're not going to remember it as well. If they have the capability of hitting smaller buttons, I would not use this as a vocabulary for someone, even if they only can, you know, you think that they can only have the choice of 4 different things.
I feel
Okay, you have 4 ways to say
sick.
what you feel, and that's it. So anyway, there's been some debate in our company about whether or not this 4 basics should be on a device, and it's a great assessment tool, but don't really try to use it as a vocabulary too often. The MultiChat 15, we went through that a lot. So then there now is a MultiChat 15 adolescent, which is very similar to the MultiChat student, but what it has, like down on the bottom, instead of this, there's a work page on there, and then there's a shopping page. So you have things that maybe a high school student would be doing in their classroom. And then the adult, you'll notice there's not even a school button on there at all, but there's chores, shopping's still there, there's work there. There's going to be in the family, they're going to talk about their grandkids. So it's nice for somebody who is needing some phrase, some words. The spelling one is just a QWERTY keyboard that has word prediction. Essence is actually for an adult that maybe lost the ability to talk, but they really are cognitively, they can read, they have a lot of memory. Their memory's good, so they would be able to read this and figure out where their things are. They have a lot to say, and literacy is very strong. The chat power suites is what I've been talking about a lot, and I think I've showed you just about all of these on the iPad, and these come with, they're not something that you have to do as an add-on on the communication device. So the menus on here, the edit mode, I think you've seen me do that. The settings, the vocabulary files, and then under help it's going to tell you what version you're on and the registration number if you would have an issue and you'd have to call the support number, which is really nice with the device. You can call the 800 number and you can actually get a live person to talk to you. And that isn't something with the app. We don't have that. You do a trouble ticket and send it in. So if you'll see where that purple arrow is, that is where the menu bar is, and then you can tap settings. That's where the green arrow is. And these are the different settings. So if I go back over here and I hit my menu bar and I'm going to settings. So as far as the input, what the input means is the timing, how long a person would have to select a button before it hits. The tilt is what is the device going to do when it goes up and down. So the action, is it going to expand and speak? It's sort of what I had on the iPad, so it would actually come up with all of the words. Is it going to change orientation? So it's going to flip from portrait to landscape, or no action, which I think is the best using for the communication system. So when you turn it around, you don't have it moving on you. So here it is. If I turn it this way, it's not going to change my 4 buttons. It's still going to keep them here. So go back into my settings and my input. So is it going to actually make a noise when you touch it? Is it going to give you a red square? Something to let you know. Then the speech display bar is up on top. Is it going to, do you want to allow it that when they hit it, it's going to speak? Is it going to expand? Can you do the Facebook share, that type of stuff? Scanning we talked about for somebody who cannot use direct select. And then the gestures, like on the iPad, are available. So I'm just going to go back 1. And then I'm going to go into my speech and my different voices that I have, the synthesizer, the voice settings. I think I should show you the pronunciations on there. So if you're going to add a new pronunciation, so you want something that maybe somebody's name is not spelled phonetically, so you would say how the word is spelled, and then you would have to type it in phonetically. So then whenever somebody spelled, there was a little boy, the name Kai, K-I, and if you just did that, it wasn't going to say it right. So if I go K-I, and then I'm going to pronounce it as, I think it was like that.
Die.
So it's going to say it a little bit better. So that's what the pronunciations are. And then do you want it to say the character? Do you want it to say the word, the sentence? That's usually what you do, is just the word and the sentence, because you really don't want, when somebody's spelling, every single letter to come off. Okay, so that was your speech output. Your abbreviations is sort of like texting, and the HJ period would be turned into hygiene. The text is just that you have the word prediction on. The style is really just what it's going to look like. You'll notice that my text color on here I have as blue, and when I was typing it was blue words coming up. The background color, I can change that. So you can have icons in the text display bar. I talked about it, but I didn't show you. I can show you that. Where you have the text display bar. So let's go back. So now you can see I changed it to yellow, and
My head hurts.
the pictures that are in the buttons are going to come up into the text display bar.
I want to eat pudding.
So then you have I want to eat pudding as a sentence, and if you have somebody who the pictures are the only things they're looking at, this might actually get them to look at the speech display bar more, and maybe you would get some literacy skills. So I'll go back over to my PowerPoint. Okay. So those are the settings on there. The system settings are the only other ones. I guess actually the one thing I should talk about on here is the language. We do have Spanish available. It's a $200 add-on, and there's about 4 different vocabularies that are in both English and Spanish. MultiChat 15 is one of them that is available in Spanish. So potentially somebody could be speaking English at school and Spanish at home. If that's something that has to be done, and that's so they can communicate with their family, then that's what it has worked out. And system is where you find the power settings. So the NovaChat editor is the CD that you get with the device that you use on your computer. So if you are a therapist and you can actually do editing on the computer, and then you sync up the device to the computer, and you can put everything in there. If you have pictures on your computer, then that's a really easy way also to put the pictures that the student knows into his device. Also, it helps for backing up so that in case something happens to the device, you would have a backup of the file of all the changes that you've made. So updating the software, our device is relatively new. Our current version is 1.7.0, which means that in the last year there have been 6 different updates. So you really want that. I mean, you know, things like hiding buttons has just come up. What we've done, because we're this is such a new thing, is that we have actually gone and, you know, people will tell us, oh, like I really want symbols in the bar. So they just have a wish list, and when they get about 5 or 6 of these new items done, they put up a new update and you would have them available. So editing abbreviations, we went over that just a little bit. And pronunciations, we did go through some of that. And selecting a vocabulary, went through that. And these are all the different vocabularies that come with the device. What you're going to see on mine is that you'll see some of them have PCS after it and some of them have symbol sticks. If you purchase the PCS symbols, that means that you get both the PCS symbols, the board maker symbols, and the symbol sticks, which come with it automatically. So then you have twice as many. So this is editing vocabulary. What our website has some really nice videos on there. You can either sign up to take a webinar online and be with people like you're doing right now, or you can actually just download the video, and then you can actually learn about it on your own. So you can just watch it and stop it whenever you want. I think that's what they do here too. So to duplicate the vocabulary, but I think you will all remember that when I went into edit mode, it automatically pushes you through this. So you really don't have to do a lot on that. So you're going to edit and go into edit mode. You know you're in edit mode because it has the red line on the bottom. And this is where we took the picture. And you can customize that button just like what we did. The styles, I'm going to go back over here and actually show you on
I like.
one of these. Actually, I'm going to show you again on going into the library. Maybe.
Jean, we had a question.
Sure.
Jessica was wondering where the webinars are. How
If
she
you
can
go
access.
to the Saltillo website, which is just www.saltillo.com, then you can go to support under there, and that's where all the webinars are listed. And either the downloading ones or the live ones to sign up for. Is this back on? No? Good. So I am going to go into edit mode. And this is where it's going to say, okay, do you want to do a duplicate? I'm going to go yes. And I'm going to go back into...
I go to school at 20. I feel sick.
I'm looking for a blank button. So now I have a couple of blank buttons here. So I'm going to do this button, and I'm going to create a button on this. It's the same thing as editing a button, but since there was nothing there, it's going to say, okay, create a button. And if I do my label as dog, and then I'm just going to find a picture of a dog, it's going to go show me all of the pictures that are inside this device. And I have dog written up there, so I'm just going to touch search. And it's going to take some time, and it's going to pull up all of the images that have a dog in there. And you'll see the little picture on the side of it. So here's all the dogs, and I'm going to pick this dog. So that now is going to be my picture of a dog. So the label is what is on top of there. The message is what it's going to say in the speech display bar. My style, what I don't like about what I have here is that I can't even see the word dog in there. So I'm going to make that bigger. So if I go to 25, that's still not very big. Okay, now I actually have the word dog that we all could see. So this is under style. I can also make it bold. The color of it, I can change the body color. Can make it green. My border width, I showed you a little bit earlier about hiding buttons, and that's one way to teach the vocabulary. Another way, sort of think of it as the opposite, is that you can, if you want to work on 5 verbs today, then you can put great big borders around the 5 verbs that you're working on instead of hiding all the other pictures. And that's a nice way to teach too. Then my action is, what is this button going to do? What I want this button to do is I'm going to add an action to it. You'll see that up there it already has the speech message. What I also want it to do is I am going to have it navigate, and I'm going to have it navigate to another page, and it's going to go, oh, look at all these other pages you have. And so I could just pick one of my pages, and that obviously wouldn't make sense for dog, but just for right now, that's the page it's going to go to. Or I could go to a new page, and my new page would need to have a 2x2 to be in the same. And I'm going to save that and save this. So now I have my new button, dog, and it's navigating to a new page. So, and you'll see that the picture that I picked now is with that word dog up in the bar too. Good. Okay, so one other nice thing you can do in here, so the last thing I'm going to show you, is that you can actually open an app from your communication device. So if I was going to say all about me and talk about going to school, I'm going to take this button, I'm going to edit this button. The action I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action, and I am going to open an Android application. So then what happens is it pops up with all of the applications that I might have in there. So I am going to open up my maps, something I might use at school. So I'm going to go to save, and now when I open up
to school at 20.
my maps application is coming in, and since I haven't started it, I don't have it like set for where I am right now. So, but you could open up any app. You could open up your pictures, you could open up the camera, you can open up the calculator, whatever, and all you have to do is hit your button back.
I go to school at 20.
Is push your button back, and you end up back in your vocabulary file. So you're not going to leave the student into the world of apps. And I think we're running out of time, and so just going to show you the contact information. And all of this information that I talked about is available on the webinar. And okay. So there are YouTube videos, and then this is actually, somebody had asked me about that, about the support, and there's where the Saltillo support recorded is, and this is your local help, and where you can find information. Saltillo Company, Silver Kite, we haven't really talked about that. The TouchChat app, you can find out some information about that. The funding packets we use Prem-Keramic's funding, so you can use that. The support, technical support, you can call the 800 number, and you can get information from that. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'd like to thank Jean for doing that. And we'd like to remind you to take the evaluation, the UATP survey link at the bottom of the AggieCast page. Let us know what AT topics you'd like to see presented next. Also, this training will be archived after it's closed captioned, and also DVDs will be available. You can access our previous trainings from our blog, which is utahatprogram.blogspot.com, and it's under the Archive Trainings tab. And we will resume the webinars come fall. We will be off for the summer. Thank you for attending.